Hello, welcome to the channel. I want you to imagine with me a preacher walking into a mega wealthy, highly religious society and saying this: God hates your worship services. Your songs irritate him and he won't accept your offerings. Well, believe it or not, that actually happened. And his name was Amos. He wasn't a professional priest or a polished politician. He was simply a blue-collar shepherd and a fig farmer. But God sent him to drop a theological bombshell on a nation that thought it was perfectly safe. And today, we are looking at the most explosive book in the Old Testament, quite possibly, and why its message is terrifyingly relevant right now. Let's set the stage. The year is around 760 BC. Israel is experiencing an absolute golden age. Business is booming. The borders are secure. Religion is flourishing. And Amos shows up in the northern capital of and he starts preaching. He begins by naming Israel's enemies: Damascus, Gaza, Tyre, Edom. He lists their war crimes and says God is going to judge them. The crowds in Israel were probably cheering at that moment. Yeah, get them, God. But Amos was setting a trap. After listing 7 surrounding nations, he turns directly to the cheering crowd in Israel and he says, now let's talk about you. Amos reveals that Israel's sins wasn't just political. It was system. They were selling the needy for a pair of sandals. The rich were crushing the poor while living in ivory houses. But here is the twist. They were still going to church every single week. They were offering sacrifices. They were singing hymns. They were celebrating religious festivals. They thought that financial prosperity meant that God was happy with them. This brings us to the climax of the book. In Amos chapter 5, God speaks through the prophet, and he delivers one of the most chilling lines in Scripture. He says, I despise your religious festival. Away with the noise of your songs. God didn't want their ritual performance. He wanted their lives to change. And he concludes with these famous words: but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Because they refused to listen, Amos sees 5 visions of destruction. The most famous of these visions is the plumb line, where God holds up a vertical measuring tool next to a wall to see if it's crooked. And Israel was so warped by injustice that the only option left was for the wall to be torn completely down. And in 722 BC, just a few decades after Amos preached, the superpower of Assyria swept in and destroyed the northern kingdom. Amos's warnings came true. If the book ended there, it would be pure despair. But the final verses of Amos offer a dramatic shift. God promises that even after ruin, He will restore the fallen tent of David. He promises a day when the plowman will overtake the reaper. A picture of absolute abundance, grace, and restoration. Amos leaves us with a massive question today. Think about it. Does our religion match our relationship? You see, God doesn't just care about what we do inside the church walls on Sundays. He does, but He cares much more about how we treat people on Monday. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from Amos for our world today? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the Bible. And I'll see you in the next video. God bless.